No one really prepares you for what the first 30 days with twins feels like. You hear the advice, you read the blogs, you watch the videos, but nothing truly captures the moment when two newborns cry at once, when your body is exhausted beyond anything you've ever known, and when time itself seems to dissolve into a blur of feeding, soothing, and surviving. This isn't just about having double the diapers or double the bottles, it's about facing a completely new version of reality. A reality where sleep becomes a distant memory, emotions run deeper than expected, and even the strongest relationships are tested. If you think you're ready, think again. Because surviving the first month with twins isn't about perfection, it's about endurance, adaptation, and discovering a strength you didn't know existed. Welcoming twins into the world is often painted as a magical, heartwarming experience filled with double the love and double the joy, and, while that's true in moments, there's another side that rarely gets talked about. The first 30 days are intense, overwhelming, and emotionally charged in ways most parents don't anticipate. This video dives deep into that reality, the sleepless nights, the emotional shifts, and the unexpected challenges that come when expectation meets truth. If you're preparing for twins, already in the middle of the storm, or simply curious about what it really takes, this is for you. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss content that helps you navigate parenthood with clarity and confidence. The first day with twins feels surreal, almost like stepping into a dream that moves too fast to fully understand. Everything happens at once: hospital instructions, crying babies, the quiet fear of doing something wrong, and before there's time to process any of it, you're already responsible for two fragile lives. The idea of bringing the baby home becomes something entirely different when it's multiplied. Every movement requires coordination, every decision feels heavier, and the sense of responsibility doubles instantly. There is no gradual adjustment period. Instead, it feels like being dropped into deep water and expected to swim without hesitation. The exhaustion hasn't fully set in yet, but the anticipation of it lingers in the background. You begin to realize that this experience will demand more than patience. It will demand everything you have, physically, emotionally, and mentally, from the very first moment. By the third day, the adrenaline begins to fade, and reality starts to settle in with a quiet but undeniable weight. Sleep deprivation becomes more than just feeling tired. It becomes a constant fog that blurs thoughts and slows reactions. Nights no longer feel like nights, but rather a continuous extension of the day, broken only by feeding schedules and the sound of crying. When one baby finally falls asleep, the other wakes, creating a cycle that feels endless. The idea of rest becomes theoretical rather than practical. In these moments, even the simplest tasks like making a bottle or changing a diaper require effort that feels disproportionate to their simplicity. The body begins to protest, and the mind struggles to keep up, creating a tension between what needs to be done and what feels possible. Emotionally, the first week introduces a level of vulnerability that can catch even the most prepared parents off guard. There are moments of overwhelming love, where simply looking at the twins creates a deep sense of purpose and connection. But these moments often exist alongside feelings of doubt, frustration, and even guilt. The expectation that this period should feel magical clashes with the reality of exhaustion and stress. It's not uncommon to question your ability, to wonder if you're doing enough, or to feel like you're falling short despite giving everything you have. These emotions don't mean something is wrong, they are part of the adjustment. Part of learning how to exist in a completely new role that leaves little room for certainty. Feeding twins quickly becomes one of the most challenging aspects of daily life. Whether breastfeeding, bottle feeding, or combining both, the logistics alone can feel overwhelming. Coordinating feeding times, managing hunger cues, and ensuring both babies are nourished creates a rhythm that is difficult to maintain, especially when sleep is scarce. There are moments when everything aligns, when both babies feed calmly and simultaneously, offering a brief sense of control. But more often, the experience feels chaotic, with one baby crying while the other feeds, forcing constant shifts in attention. The pressure to meet their needs without delay can feel relentless, and over time it becomes clear that perfection is not the goal, survival is. As the days pass, the concept of time begins to lose its structure. Hours blend together, and the distinction between morning, afternoon, and night fades into irrelevance. The routine revolves entirely around the twins, leaving little space for anything else. Meals are rushed or forgotten. Personal care becomes secondary, and moments of rest are unpredictable and brief. This shift can feel disorienting, especially for those who are used to structured schedules and clear boundaries between different parts of the day. The loss of that structure forces a different kind of adaptation, one that prioritizes flexibility over control and acceptance over resistance. Relationships are also tested during this period in ways that are often underestimated. The stress of caring for twins, combined with physical exhaustion, can create tension even in the strongest partnerships. Communication becomes more difficult when both individuals are operating on minimal sleep, and small misunderstandings can feel amplified. At the same time, there is an opportunity for deeper connection, for learning how to support each other in new and meaningful ways. The experience demands teamwork, patience, and a willingness to adapt, not only as individuals but as a unit. It reveals strengths and vulnerabilities that might not have been visible before. By the second week, a subtle shift begins to occur in the workload, which remains intense, but in the way it is perceived. There is a growing familiarity with the rhythm of the twins' needs, a slight increase in confidence when handling daily tasks. The chaos doesn't disappear, but it becomes more predictable, allowing for small adjustments that make the experience more manageable. These adjustments might seem minor, but they create moments of stability that are essential for maintaining balance. Even the smallest sense of progress can provide a significant boost in morale, reinforcing the idea that adaptation is happening, even if it feels slow. Despite these shifts, emotional exhaustion continues to build, often manifesting in unexpected ways. There are moments when patience feels thin, when frustration rises quickly, and when the desire for a break becomes overwhelming. These feelings can be accompanied by guilt, especially when they contrast with the love that is also present. Understanding that both can coexist is crucial. The intensity of the experience does not diminish the depth of love, it simply reflects the complexity of the situation. Allowing space for these emotions, rather than suppressing them, becomes an important part of navigating this period. To support, when available, becomes one of the most valuable resources during the first month. Whether it comes from family, friends, or professionals, having someone to share the load of temporarily can make a significant difference. It's not just about physical help but also about emotional reassurance, about having someone acknowledge the difficulty of the experience without judgment. However, not all support meets expectations, and sometimes it becomes necessary to adjust assumptions about what help will look like. Learning to ask for what is needed, clearly and directly, can be challenging but essential. The physical toll of caring for twins is often underestimated. The constant lifting, holding, and moving between tasks places strain on the body, especially when combined with lack of sleep. Recovery, particularly for those who have given birth, becomes more complicated when rest is limited. Ignoring these physical signals can lead to increased fatigue and discomfort, making it even harder to maintain the level of care required. Finding small ways to support physical well-being through brief moments of rest, hydration, or simple stretches can have a meaningful impact over time. As the third week approaches, the initial shock is faded, but the demands remain high. There is a growing awareness that this is not a temporary phase that will pass quickly, but a sustained period that requires ongoing resilience. This realization can be both daunting and empowering. It shifts the focus from simply getting through each day to developing strategies that make the experience sustainable. These strategies might include creating more efficient routines, finding ways to synchronize the twin schedules, or identifying moments where rest can be prioritized. The contrast between expectation and reality becomes more apparent during this time. Many parents enter this experience with an image of what it will look like, shaped by media, advice, and personal assumptions. When reality diverges from that image, it can create a sense of disappointment or confusion. Acknowledging this gap, rather than resisting it, allows for a more authentic engagement with the experience. It creates space to redefine expectations based on what is actually happening, rather than what was imagined. Small victories begin to take on greater significance. A moment when both babies sleep at the same time, a feeding session that goes smoothly, or even a brief period of quiet can feel like major accomplishments. These moments provide a sense of progress and reinforce the idea that adaptation is taking place. They also serve as reminders that, despite the challenges, there are aspects of the experience that are working, that are moving in a positive direction. By the fourth week, there is a noticeable shift in confidence, even if the workload remains unchanged. Tasks that once felt overwhelming begin to feel more manageable, not because they are easier, but because familiarity has reduced uncertainty. This growing confidence does not eliminate challenges, but it changes the way they are approached. There is less hesitation, more instinct, and a greater sense of capability when responding to the twins' needs. At the same time, the need for personal identity begins to resurface. The intensity of the first month often leaves little room for anything beyond caregiving, but as small moments of stability emerge, there is a natural desire to reconnect with aspects of self that existed before. This might be as simple as taking a few minutes for a personal activity or reconnecting with interests that provide a sense of individuality. Balancing this with the demands of caring for twins is not easy, but it is important for long-term well-being. The experience of surviving the first 30 days with twins ultimately reshapes perspectives in profound ways. It challenges assumptions, tests limits, and reveals capacities that might not have been recognized before. It is not a polished or perfect journey, but one defined by effort, persistence, and adaptation. The intensity of this period creates a foundation that influences everything that follows, shaping not only how parents care for their children, but how they understand themselves. Surviving the first 30 days with twins is not about mastering every moment or finding perfect balance. It's about enduring the chaos long enough to discover your rhythm within it. It's about recognizing that exhaustion does not mean failure, and that uncertainty is part of growth, not a sign of weakness. What feels overwhelming today gradually becomes familiar, and what once seemed impossible begins to feel manageable. The reality may not match the expectations you once had, but within that gap lies something more real, more human, and ultimately more powerful. Because in the middle of the sleepless nights and emotional shifts, something else is quietly forming a resilience that will carry you far beyond these first 30 days.